So may we now request the coordinator for this session, Revered Swami Muktidanandaji Maharaj, to kindly come up on the dais. We also invite Dr. Gururaj Karajagai, Chairman Academy for Creative Thinking from Bengaluru, to please take their seats on the dais. The session will be coordinated by Revered Swami Muktidanandaji Maharaj, and it's supposed to start at 11:25. So Dr. Karajagai would be speaking for an hour, which would be followed by a 10-minute question-answer session. And the entire proceedings for this session would be very kindly coordinated by Swami Muktidanandaji Maharaj. There are just a few announcements. Could we please switch off our mobiles, and if that is not possible, put it on silent mode, because it keeps on ringing at very odd times and distracts us. So please, may we request you to kindly switch off or put your mobiles on vibrator mode or in silent mode. It's over to Revered Swami Muktidanandaji Maharaj. পূজনীয় মহারাজ ইংরেজিতে বলবেন এবং ডক্টর কারাজাগাইও ইংরেজিতে বলবেন। ওনাদের বক্তব্যের পরে যদি কিছু বুঝতে অসুবিধা হয়, খুব সংক্ষেপে সেটা বাংলা করে দেওয়ার চেষ্টা করব।
Welcome to the Yes. Welcome to this second session. I'm sure you are all charmed by the thought-provoking, inspiring ideas on Swami Vivekananda and how you need to go forward. How you need to go forward to ensure self-development and the development of the country, based on the life and teachings of Swami Vivekananda. Now here in this session, the famous orator, thinker, writer, Dr. Gururaj Karjagi is going to speak to you on the topic Swami Vivekananda as a creative genius. You should all consider yourself to be very fortunate to have Dr. Gururaj Karjagi amidst us today to speak to you on this very, very, very interesting, very inspiring, useful topic, the creativity in Swami Vivekananda. Dr. Karjagi is a PhD in chemistry. He is, versatile speaker and a mastery over the field of education, communication, value education, philosophy, art, literature, Indian tradition, and a variety of subjects. He goes all over the world, all over the country, participating in the workshops on a variety of subjects which is of deep relevance to the youth today. He's a person with enormous experience and a great scholar and a man of wisdom who has seen the present day society and the way in which he delivers the talk based on anecdotes, real stories, and various other modes of creative tools, I myself have perhaps attended his 25 to 30 lectures and workshops in Mysore. During the 32 years of Mysore, I must have seen Dr. Gururaj Karjagi at least 25 to 30 times in Bangalore-Mysore area. He is an emerging legendary personality in Karnataka. No seminar on education, youth is complete without Gururaj Karjagi there in Karnataka. And also in the Ramakrishna Vivekananda arena, he is a very, very popular speaker, and youth and the various intellectuals are very much invite him to be amidst them on very many occasions like this. So without unnecessarily standing between you and Dr. Karjagi, though his biodata has 2 pages, but the gist of the whole thing is a self-made person, a tremendously person rooted in the wisdom of India and thoughts of many great saints, including Swami Vivekananda and Ramakrishna, and the modern scholars of the present era. So he is in touch with the changing scenario of the world because he moves all over the world. So you are fortunate to listen to him today. Please be very attentive. Every word that he utters, every sentence that he speaks, I'm sure you will absorb with total attention and involvement, and see that as Bodhamayananji told, it is not enough if we think, learn, understand, but we need to internalize and make an integral part of our life and give it back to the society, which is crying for such support from the youth like you. So I'm grateful to Swami Suparnanji and Vedaswarupananji for inviting me. Our namaskars to all the Swamijis here, and we welcome Dr. Gururaj Karjagi to this workshop, and now request him to deliver his talk.
At the outset, I offer my pranams at the Holy Trinity's feet. My pranams to Parama Pujya Muktanandaji Maharaj. I am grateful to Vedaswarupananji Maharaj and Suparnananji Maharaj for inviting me here. And I've been so greatly associated with Swami Bodhamayananji for quite some time, more than a decade and a half. I'm so inspired by his talk today. My dear friends, my pranams to all of you. I do not want to hide behind the rostrum because I'm a short man. I'll not be seen at all. The topic given to me is so marvelous. Swami Vivekananda, a creative genius. He was truly a genius. One of the greatest geniuses not India has seen, but the world has seen. I had a very interesting experience, Swamiji, I should mention. I was in the University of California at Berkeley about 6 years ago. I was giving a lecture to the education department there. Don Pearson was the professor of education. When I opened my laptop, there was a picture of Swami Vivekananda there. In a typical American style, he asked me, "Is he your guru?" I asked him, "He could be your guru." "Who is he? Where does he stay?" I explained to him a little about Swami Vivekananda and gave a book and came back. I want to tell the youngsters here because how seriously some people take it in other part of the world. I visited the same university 20 days later. Can you believe me? He had finished reading 3 books of Swami Vivekananda. and then told me, what a tragedy. I said, what is tragedy? He said, why did we allow him to go back to India? An American telling me in 21st century, why did we allow him to go back to India? I said, we are of work, the field of work was India only. Then, interestingly he told, oh no, I know, he loved America so much. How do you know? That's why he left his body on 4th July. Look at it, 4th July is the Independence Day of America. I mean, how quickly Americans swallow him. But I sometimes feel sad. Vivekananda was here, and we still do not know much about Swami Vivekananda. Today I want to tell before you one of the greatest thinkers of the world and how differently he thought. My only apology is I can't speak in local language, I can't speak in Bangla. I have to speak in English only. I'll try. Bodh Maharaj speaks so beautifully in Bengali. I was mesmerized by his Bengali speech. But come back to this small aspect of it. Before I tell him how great he was a genius, I would like to say, what is creativity basically? It's basically, to me, a spontaneous mental process. A spontaneous mental process. It happens to us. It requires continuous inquiry, not enquiry. Enquiry is external. Inquiry is internal. In fact, you ask Sachin Tendulkar which was his best century, he may say one or two, but he says, my best was yet to come. Ask Lata Mangeshkar which was her best song, she may say, my best is yet to come. A creative person is never satisfied with what he or she has done. He always say, I can do better. This is a continuous inquiry that one has to have. This I use the word creative dissatisfaction or constructive dissatisfaction. Everybody must have. If you are satisfied with what you are doing, you will not try for something bigger. There must always be a feeling that I could have done better. I could have done better. This is called constructive dissatisfaction. And this is a genius and a developed intuition. He had a tremendous intuition. I didn't have much time to explain about his intuitive abilities. Many things he demonstrated in different parts of the world. Creativity transforms the mind. And also, creative people transform themselves. This is most beautiful. Creative people change themselves so much. Without their knowledge, when they are peak of creativity, if you have seen some people around you, they are totally different. And secondly, when the creativity is happening, there is so much rush of energy. I have a classic example of it, but it's Bismillah Khan, the greatest Shehnai player and Bharat Ratna. He had come to Bangalore. He was to perform in a huge hall called Chaudhaya Memorial Hall. The hall was packed to capacity. If no seats were there, people were squatting on the floor to see the maestro perform there. Unfortunately, the previous day evening, he caught viral fever. Old man that he was, and he had viral fever, and he was saying that I will not be able to perform tomorrow. And disappointment from a lot of people. And it was almost kept online so that people outside can also watch it. But then these disciples told him, don't worry, sir, you take rest because you can't perform, you are not well, we'll do it. Believe me, I was one of the organizers there. In the green room, he was taking rest. And he said, no, I'll go there on the stage. I'll play 2 rags and then come back. Then you continue further. And against the wish of the students, this old man came on the dais coughing and had very high fever. He came on the stage and said, I'll play only 2 ragas and go back. But do you believe? He stayed on the stage for all 3 hours and performed continuously with the same cheerful disposition. And then he came back and told in the green room, I was so hot, feeling hot before I went on the stage because I had very high fever. But the fever has gone now. Fever has gone. I was wondering, nobody in the auditorium could make out that he was not well. Nearly 78-year-old man at that time, having very high degree of fever, nobody could make out that he had fever. Because when you are performing a creative act, you don't realize your weaknesses at that time. The body takes over, mind takes over the body and perform well. The rush of energy is so high and lifts a person as if he is in a different part of the world. I always say you can be creative in walking, you can be creative in talking, you can be creative in speaking, you can be creative in writing, or you can be creative in just not doing anything. When I say this, there is a meaning in it. Bhagavan Buddha, sitting under the Bodhi tree, apparently not doing anything, was one of the greatest creative brains the world has ever seen. That means to be creative, you don't have to do. It is a quality that you bring into the work. It is a quality that you bring into the work. And Buddha, apparently not doing anything, was one of the greatest creative brains the world has ever seen. It is also an important aspect. Children are eminently creative. Small children are eminently creative. It is impossible not to be creative. No child will keep quiet unless the child is sick. Am I right? Children are excited. They are so curious. I always say, small child is the greatest scientist. Give something to the child to play. First he will bite, then taste it, push it, try to tear it. He will do all physical exercises with the ball or the game that he plays, and then finally says nothing great about it, throws and goes away. Curiosity is one important quality of a child, and a creative person retains that childhood temperament throughout his life. And if you see the life of Swami Vivekananda, you find him excited and charged every time. Excited, curious about everything. Right from cooking on to talking to people, exciting young people around him. He was an exciting man. Creative people, of course I mentioned, is a psychological process, and a lot of things like problem solving, cognition, emotions, memory, and so on. One more interesting part of creative people is they are all multifaceted. Multifaceted. And they can do many things at the same time. They have multiple options for a given situation. To explain that, I have to do a small exercise there on the board. I got the board for that. I want you to watch it. I'm sure you will never forget in your life. I have been teaching creativity for quite some time. For nearly 20 years, I designed a curriculum on creativity to use in different universities in different parts of the world. I wanted to validate my theory. I was doing an exercise with small children in Bangalore. Every day I conduct 3 days workshop for children on creativity, and it's very much in demand. I take only 100 students. 3 days workshop. I'm not going to educate children. Please remember, you don't have to make the children creative. If you don't destroy their creativity, is more than enough. I was working with the small ones from age 9 to age 17 or 18. That is grade 4 to grade 12. Morning I had some nice activities. After lunch, the whole thing slows down. After lunch, the process slows down. Just to keep the children excited, I asked them an apparently stupid question. I asked them, can you draw a triangle with 2 lines? Can you draw a triangle with 2 lines? The senior boys and girls, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th students looked at me as if I was coming from a horror movie. They said, 2 lines, not possible, sir. I said, go out, sit outside in the garden. Only chotus remained in the hall. I love them. They are the most brilliant ones. And I told him, your bhaiyas and didis could not do triangle with 2 lines. Can you draw triangle with 2 lines? One boy stood up and asked me very seriously, you know the answer? Correct also. If you also do not know why ask me this question, I said, I know the answer. Then I made them groups of 5 each. You should have seen the fun. They are pulling each other's hair and screaming at each other. After 5 minutes, one girl started giggling. I said, why are you laughing? Very easy, sir. Very easy. Come and draw it on the board. She came to the board and very nicely drew this picture. She drew 2 lines. Can you all see that? Okay. She drew 2 lines like this. I said, very good, very good. Because this answer I knew. I clapped and said, very good, very creative. And one boy stood up and angrily told me, sir, she is not creative, sir. What is your problem, man? Sir, I'll tell you, sir. I want to see, my friends, you are all young people with such tremendous abilities in you. Please remember this fact. There are 2 things in life. One is an event, other is a process. If you take everything as an event, it gets forgotten. It makes no sense to you later on. But convert an event into a process, it becomes a lifelong experience. I'll tell you how it happens. Imagine a PC Sarkar show, a magic show. He brings a hat with a long neck, a black hat with long neck. He shows it to you. Is it empty? He inverts it. Calls somebody from the audience. You can put your hand and feel. It is empty. You declare that it is empty. When it says empty, he takes the hat, puts some flower petals and says abracadabra, and a pigeon flies out. We all clap and tell the neighbors, beautiful show, you also go and see. These are event makers. They forget after some time. But one fellow sitting in the auditorium wonder from where did this bird come? He will not be just impressed by the bird coming out. He wants to know from where the bird is coming. Is it coming from the coat? He will take one more ticket and go and watch the hand only this time. It's not coming from the hand. It is coming from the hat only. Hat was empty. He had gone up on the stage, put his hand, and there was no bird there. Flower petals cannot become bird. You know that. But how does it happen? He goes mad, goes and searches for books, finally goes to a magic class, and they tell you this very simple trick. There is a false bottom here. The bird is already inside. And this is zipped there. This is a hard surface. When you put your hand, you touch this part, but feel that you are touching this part. When he shows you the hat like this, you see this part, but believe you are seeing this. And remember, in the magic show on the stage, light is always dim. You don't see the small zip there. But when you say it's empty, he puts flower petals and unzips it, and the bird flies out. Now you know the answer. Am I right? It is not an event now, it is a process. Next time another magician comes to your town and shows the hat, is it empty? You go up on the stage and unzip, the bird flies before he does, and his show is over. Now tell me why it happened is, it did not become an event for you, it became a process for you. Similarly, I wanted to find out a process behind this. I asked her, how did you do that? How did you get this idea? Because I wanted to know why, how she get the idea. She told me, very simple, sir. When you told me 2 lines, no, I kept my 2 fingers like this. Went on moving my fingers all over. When my fingers came to the edge of the notebook, I could see a triangle. Edge of the notebook became a side of a triangle. That's why I did it, sir. I said, very good. I clapped and said, brilliant, good child. Another boy stood up, I told you, angry boy. Sir, she is not creative, sir. Now tell me, what is your problem, man? He said, I can draw triangle with 1 line, sir, not 2 lines, sir. She wants 2 lines. I can draw with only 1 line. Very simple. He came to the board and drew the line like this. My friends, please remember, this is not original. This is original. This child gave a concept that edge of the board can be side of a triangle. Edge of the board is a concept she gave. And this fellow saw there are 2 edges here. Therefore, 1 line is enough. This is an original concept, this is an application of the concept. Or, if you permit me, this is science, this is technology. Application of science is technology. I said, very good. She are also very great. I clapped him and then wanted to push them further. Now, children, you are not allowed to use the edge of the board. You are not allowed to use the edge of the board. Without using the edge of the board, can you draw a triangle with 2 lines? I thought they would not be able to, because I did not know the answer. It was as dangerous as set a question paper if you don't know the answer. I was wondering what will they do. If they turn back and ask, you tell me the answer, I had no answer. But I have so much faith in the children. After 5 minutes of struggling, one boy, serious looking boy, I can do it, sir. He came to the board and did this picture. He drew a picture like this and kept quiet. I said, where is the triangle, man? You have drawn 2 lines, but where is the triangle? He said, wait a minute, sir. He closed his pen properly, kept it there, and told me, see, sir, I have not used the edge of the board. He made it clear also. I was fascinated. To tell you like a fool, I have studied theories of creativity. I have had it. The theory of creativity says, when you don't find solutions in 2 dimensions, mind jumps to the 3rd dimension. You understand? Very simple. If you don't find solutions in 2 dimensions, mind jumps to 3rd dimension. I had only studied like a fool, but he is applying it. He is validating my theories. He said, I kept the pen. How did you get the idea, man? He told me very simple. That girl told, no sir, 2 lines. I kept my 2 fingers like this. Please see, my friends, how one idea stimulates another idea. I kept my 2 fingers, went on moving. But you told me not to use the edge of the board, no sir. What do I do now? After some time, watch my words. After some time, my tired finger came up, sir. My tired finger came up. Yeah, it's a triangle now. And this finger is not the edge of the board. I can keep my finger. Finger is so small, what do I do? I keep my pen, pencil, scale or artifact, anything is all right. I did it, sir. I said, very good, very creative. I clapped. I was not satisfied. I wanted to push them further. Creativity has to be pushed. I said, now children, you are not allowed to use the edge of the board, and you are also not allowed to use pen, pencil, scale or any artifact. Not allowed. Can you draw a triangle with 2 lines? Again, I thought they will not be able to do it. After 5 minutes, one more serious looking boy. I'll do it, sir. So remember, don't use the edge of the board and no artifacts to be used. He said, yes, sir. And he came and did something more marvelous. He drew a picture like this. Please watch what he did. Almost like a right angle triangle. I said, you fellow did not understand what I told you. You have to draw with 2 lines, not with 3 lines. He got so wild and told me, tell me what you wanted. He asked me, tell me what you wanted. You wanted a triangle with 2 lines. Did you say 2 straight lines? Did you say 2 straight lines? What I have done is, I have drawn 1 bent line and 1 straight line. Pure geometry people may not accept it, but this is a fact. One is a bent line, other is a straight line. Again, the theory of creativity says, which I had inherited. It says, when you don't find solutions in 3 dimensions, mind starts manipulating the words. It's one of the theories of creativity. When you don't find solutions in 3 dimensions, mind starts manipulating the words, and it was happening. I said, brilliant, wonderful. But I was not satisfied. I wanted to push them further. Now, children, you are not allowed to use the edge of the board. You are also not allowed to use artifacts, and you are also not permitted to use bent lines. Can you draw a triangle with 2 lines? There was lull and silence in the hall. After 5 minutes of struggle and hard, one girl sitting in the front row, maybe 13, 14-year-old, with spectacles slipping down the nose, she looked at me and said, very easy. I felt so stupid, I had a difficult question asked. The girl says, very easy. Come and draw it on the board. She came to the board and drew something, my friends. It was extraordinary. I became famous because of her. I wrote an article in the Journal of Creativity with the same title, A Triangle with 2 Lines, and became famous all over the world. You've heard of Edward de Bono, called the father of the lateral thinking. He sent a mail to me, this is height of lateral thinking. I said, not mine. The child has done it. But I suffer from a guilty feeling. In that euphoria, I forgot the girl's name. I don't remember. I travel all over the world and try to locate this girl sometime. She must be 29, 30 now. But wherever she is, I'll locate her. I have a request to make. I'll draw on the board what she did. I'll draw on the board what she did. Please clap if you think it is very creative. Don't clap if you don't understand it. Initially, I did not understand. I'll draw it on the board what she did. She came to the board very confidently and drew a picture like this. Drew a picture like this. I did not understand. I said, you child, I told you to draw a triangle with 2 lines. You have drawn 5 lines. She smiled and told, if you have understood, you can clap. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Initially, I did not understand. What have you done? You have drawn 5 lines. She smiled and told me, sir, what you wanted, sir? Tell me what you wanted. All that you wanted was a triangle with 2 lines. Triangle with 2 lines. Now please see, this is a magnificent thing. Till then I had not even thought of it. So how did you get this idea? She said, for half an hour I have been watching you. You have been only saying triangle with 2 lines. You never said triangle of 2 lines. It struck me like a lightning. Struck me like a lightning. I was thinking from the geometry point of view, and the child was thinking from English point of view. It in fact became a beautiful theory. When I teach in the different universities in US, I teach them problem solving skills. I'll tell them this is the problem solving skill. I found a new solution. As long as I was thinking from the geometry point of view, there is no solution. You can't draw a triangle with two lines. But she was thinking from English point of view, this man has been saying triangle with two lines. With two lines you can draw any time, no? You should have seen the pandemonium in the hall. Children started jumping up and saying, sir, I can draw a triangle with 100 lines, sir. You can't 100 lines. And somebody said, why lines, sir? I can draw a circle with a triangle. With you can do anything. Is it not right? Then it struck to me, my friends, please remember, this will be useful in your lifetime. When there is a problem you are confronting, you are seeing from here, don't change the problem, change your position. Why people go to counselors? Because he has a different picture altogether. You understand what I am saying? Therefore, when there is a problem there, I learnt a lesson, don't change the problem, change your position. I was thinking from geometry point of view and she was thinking from English point of view. She found the solution so easy, but I found it so complicated. You understand? Therefore, my friends, creativity is all about having more options. When you read the right, I'll go this way, Swamiji. When talk about Swami Vivekananda and talking about his theories, his life you have read, you find many options he created. Unbelievable options he created in his lifetime. So therefore, he was an extraordinary leader in thinking. I always say spiritual people are always creative. Not because I'm in Ramakrishna Ashrama. I always believe spiritual people are more creative because they are more introspecting. We are always looking out of the world, looking outside the world. They are more looking inwards, they find more options to them. Therefore, amongst all the saints that I have seen so far, Swami Vivekananda turns out to be a role model in creativity and demonstrating genius characters there. An extraordinary genius. Also, it is also sharp intellect. He was rooted in Western philosophy. Swamiji was skeptical about religious claims. He went on asking people, say, have you seen God? You know the early life of Swami Vivekananda. He questioned everything and wanted proof for everything. But I wrote one of the articles, despite being grounded in reason and logic, his creative mind was flexible. Please remember, my friends, there is no point in becoming too flexible or too rigid. Mind should be flexible enough for learning to happen, but not too flexible to be chaotic. Swami Vivekananda was extraordinary. His mind was struck in logic and reason, but I said one of the articles I wrote, the renaissance of India happened when the Western educated youth of India surrendered at the feet of the illiterate monk at the Kali temple. He accepted him. He accepted him. This is beauty. Remember, there is a paradox, it's called paradox. Apparent contradictions, but they go well with this. In fact, when Valmiki talks about Rama, he says, Rama is like a fire, but is also soft like wax. Two properties can coexist only in creative mind. And Swami Vivekananda was doing that. And then, this is the most important one. My friends, I want to spend a minute on that. How do you differentiate between ordinary and creative or extraordinary? Some of you have had training in music, classical music if you have learned. When you go to the classic music class, they tell you this is the raga. Many people have spent decades together to learn one raga. You should understand the framework of the raga. You can't go beyond the frame. You understand the nuances, the arohana, avrohana, and the alapas. You should be thorough in that, but you can't cross the limit. I hope I'm making sense to you. Each raga has a frame of reference. You can't go beyond that. You must understand the limits and also understand the intricacies and nuances of the raga. People have spent decades together to master one raga. But a creative genius is one who understands the point of reference, understands the nuances, but transcends it and goes beyond. You understand? This is the beauty of life. If you remain within the raga, you become master of one raga. Others, how can Balamurali Krishna create so many ragas? How can Pandit Jasraj create so many ragas? The reason is that they understand the nuances of a raga, limits of the raga, but are prepared to transcend it. Don't get stuck there. Normal minds form the frame and get stuck to it. A creative mind understands the frame but is willing to transcend and have courage to transcend it. Swami Vivekananda did it, though with a Western-based frame of mind, but he surrendered at the feet of the poor priest at the Kali temple. And that was the cultural renaissance of India. Small thing, very small experiment. I like it very much. In the house of Swami Vivekananda, and it was Narendra earlier, there were so many hookahs meant for people of different castes. And people had told him, don't touch these hookahs. They belong to a different class. Don't touch them. This is a creative mind at the child. Why should I not touch? There are two kinds of people. If the elder one says, don't touch it, they don't touch. They just go away. There is remaining within the frame. He is within the frame but wants to transcend the frame. He not only touched, but he started wondering, if I touch it, the hookahs of other communities, would the roof fall on him? Or will he die? He said, why ask question? Let me test. He took a whiff from each of the hookah and finally told father, nothing happened. This is the beauty at the young age. This is charming. Normally people want obedient children. Am I right? Obedient means don't ask questions. But here, this boy tested and finally said nothing happened. This is the proof that he wanted, that even if I touch the other hookah, nothing would happen to him, and declared to his father that nothing is wrong by touching other hookah. The mind is willing to open itself. This is an article, if you get to hand to it, reach it out, please read this. One of the magnificent articles written by Swami Yogeshananda with the title called Paradoxical Prophet. I can quote the whole article itself, so beautiful article, but I wish you can read it in part. Go to Google Bhagwan later on and type there Swami Yogeshananda Paradoxical Prophet, you'll get the article. It's a marvelous article. There are some points in this. We call the devil and the deep sea, am I right? Devil and the deep sea. They were tormented between the two dangerous propositions. But here, Swamiji talks, when he came back from West, there are two great obstacles to our path in India. The Skyla, the monster of old orthodoxy, and Charybdis, the whirlpool of the modern European civilization. The two problems India is facing, one is the old orthodoxy and there is the modern Europeanism or the Western culture. Both are there. But then he makes his choice. This is more beautiful. He is driven by the modern world. Please believe me, he has just come back from West. He has come back from West and he says there are two challenges. One is the old orthodoxy, others which is called as the Skyla, and the new European or the Western civilization called the whirlpool, Charybdis. Which one he chooses? Of these two, I vote for the old orthodoxy. In fact, the gentleman asked a beautiful question. How do you define Indian culture? I would like to tell that. Look at the mind of Swami Vivekananda. He lived in the West, had a Western education, but still says, I will go with Indian orthodoxy because the old orthodox man may be ignorant, but has the strength and stands on his own feet. Because this culture that I have is how many years old, we don't know. We can keep any number, 5,000 or 10,000 years old culture that we have. Please remember, my friends, anything which lives for a long time must have inherent strengths in it. It cannot survive. Without inherent strength, nothing would survive. He says, I believe in our orthodoxy because it has been driven by generations together. And what is the culture that we should follow? So Vivekananda says, one of the articles he says, I don't know what is the path led by the elders earlier is the right path for me. What is the path led by the elders earlier? Because they have survived so many generations. When the whole world was sleeping, we were at the pinnacle of glory. If that has survived at that time, there must be inherent strength in it. And that strength will sustain me. And then he says beautifully, my friends, how creative he was. He himself was an unorthodox man. A Swami and unorthodox. In fact, I wrote a small research article in Kannada long back about Swami's stay in Karnataka. He went to a person's house, Bhate's house in Belgaum. He stayed there, traditional Brahmin's house. They saw Swami come in there, and Swami comes there with a jubba. Earlier in South India, Swamis are not supposed to wear any stitched dress. They cannot have stitched dress, they only have the cloth. They were a little surprised and skeptical about this man. And after lunch, he asked for, do you have some betel nuts to eat? They were shell-shocked. Swami is eating betel nut. And he said, why is betel nut only? You can give me a smoke, I'll smoke also. I was wondering, why did he do that? The reason is here, my friends, please watch. He would shock these people because he saw when he came back, this is most important for me. That's why this article becomes important to me. He saw superstition in India. He saw political subjugation. And he called sheer tamas. We are lost in tamas there. When somebody is deep asleep, what do? Whisper from a distance. Please get up. Will you get up? He is in deep tamas. He can't get up. The only way to make us the tamasi is to shout at him and shake him thoroughly. That's what he did. And what he did was, he could shock them by crossing the seas. Earlier, going across the ocean was considered against dharma. But he went abroad and then got food from the Muslim vendor, bringing Western students into high caste houses, challenging outmoded ideas. And look at this. In Calcutta, the young boys were doing the Puja festival and they are doing representing Kali. And his question is magnificent. Beautiful question. Those days, why do you always have to represent Kali in exactly the same way? The same pose, same ornament, same expression. Where is your creativity? This is beautiful. He salutes Kali every day, but he doesn't want to see her in the same form. Don't you want to get dressed up differently every day? He said, this design Kali also like that. If you are a bhakta, I tell you, if you are only a bhakta, completely stuck in bhakti, you don't want to change the pattern. I told you, get stuck in the frame. But here was a creative genius who never had a frame. Change it. Why do you want to have this Kali? Different kind of Kali you can do. This is a different thinking. This is I call as looking for real solutions and apparent solutions. This is an important aspect of creativity, my friends. I want to spend 5 minutes on that here. Whenever there are challenges, there are solutions. Some solutions appear like real solutions, but they are not real solutions. They are pseudo solutions. I have a small activity to perform. That's why I kept some space there. Can I have 2 people coming on the stage? 2 boys or 2 girls? Quickly, who comes first? Let me see. 2 boys or 2 girls can come. Anybody can come. Come. 2 girls or 2 boys have to come quickly, very quickly. Because we don't want to spend time. Here. 2 girls have come, it's okay. The boys are a little late. We'll have for the next exercise. We'll have the 2 girls here. No, thank you. The 2 people have come. I'll call you for the next activity. I wanted 2 boys or 2 girls. 2 girls have come faster. No, I'll take these 2. And for the next activity, I'll take your help. I'll create a temporary mic stand. Yeah. Should be okay? Can you hear me still? Okay. Come this side. What is your name?
Debushmita Shah. Debushmita Shah.
Devashmita.
Lima Naik.
Lima. Okay. Lima and Devashmita. Am I pronouncing correctly? Okay. 2 of them are there. Can you do one thing? Can you remove your watch or the bangle? Raise the sleeves up. There's no fight, but it's quite exciting. Yeah. Raise it up a little. Both of you are good friends? No. You will become good friends now. I'm going to tie both of them together. Please see what would happen now. I want you to listen to me very carefully. This is a very creative exercise which proves what I was talking about, Swami Vivekananda, the style of finding real and apparent solutions. If you miss anything that I say or do, you will not be able to solve the problem. Listen to it very carefully. I'll tie Lima's hand. Give me your right hand. I'm going to tie her right hand, but I'll be very kind to her. The knot will not be very tight. I'll leave some space there. Can you see, Lima?
Yes.
I kept some space here. So much space, but don't pull too hard and hurt yourself. Okay? Give me the other hand. Same as this hand, I'll leave some space so that she doesn't get hurt. But don't pull too hard. Knot is strong, don't worry. But some space is there. Now, Devasmita, give me your right hand. Yeah. Same as I did for Lima. I'll leave some space. Okay? Good enough. So much space is there. Okay? I'll tie the other hand. Again the same thing, I'll leave some space. A little more space so that you don't get hurt. Yes. 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 Now stretch your arms. Both of you stretch your arms. Stretch your arms. Stretch your arms like this. Stretch your, no, don't pull. Stretch your arms. Spread it. Spread it. Now they are tied like this. Can you all see? Devasmita, you can't see. You come this way. Little further. Yes. Move back a little. Yeah, that's fine. They are tied like this. We always say there is something called Chinese 2-ring puzzle. If one ring is in another ring, you can't take it out. You can't separate it. Let us see whether they have come to that stage now. This is Devasmita's ring and this is Lima's ring. And one ring is in another ring. I want them to come out freely without doing 3 things. These 3 should be remembered. You are not supposed to do 3 things. Anything else you can do. First one is, you can't pull it out of the hand like the bangle. I've tied it loose. You can't pull it out of the hand like a bangle. Got it? Second one, you can't unknot the knots. She cannot unknot her knot, or she cannot unknot her knot, or any one of us. Unknotting is not allowed. Got it? First is you can't pull it out. Second is you can't unknot the knots. And third and most important is you can't cut the rope. You are very intelligent people, I should tell you. I was doing this exercise in Ontario, in Canada, and I tied 2 people like this. One gentleman asked me, you can't cut the rope, can I burn it? Burning is also cutting, not allowed. I'm telling you, no way you can't cut it. So you can't pull it out of the hand, you can't unknot the knot, and you can't cut the rope. Now come out. Yes. Whatever you do, very good. Very good. Correct. She got it. Very good. Very nice. She got it. Very nice. Very nice. Yes, correct. Very good. We'll give them 1 minute time to come out. Yes. Have you come out? No. Come this way, so others will see. Yeah. It's becoming more complicated, huh? Yeah. Becoming more complicated now. Come this way so that everybody can see. Yeah, yes, correct. Yeah. Come in the center so that others can see. Yeah. Yes. Yes, correct. Lima has an idea. Yes, correct, that's right, very good. At least they came back to the original position. That is more important. They were stuck badly earlier. Yeah, try. Swami says something else. Try. Yes. Devasmita has got some idea now. Very good. Correct. Very good. My friends, please remember, I have given a problem to you. Find out a real solution, not the apparent solution. They are trying for the apparent solution. Pseudo solutions I call. They look like solutions, but they are not solutions. In life we are challenged by these 2. Swami Vivekananda faced 2 challenges throughout his life. Real solution and a pseudo solution. And how he sorted out. Yeah, come. Anybody wants to help them? 30 seconds or 40 seconds can come help. Friend in need is a friend indeed. No, I want to come out. I want you to come bring them out. Any idea apart from the one they are trying so far? From there it looks very easy, no? From there just you can come like this, you can come out. But come here and see. Telling Virat Kohli from the commentary box is very easy. But facing the ball is different. Come. Last effort. Last 20 seconds. Do you think it is possible? Honestly. Do you think it is possible? No, she says not possible. Never say that. Never say that. Every problem has a solution. Please believe me, young friends, no problem comes without a solution. It's a package deal. problems always come with solutions. We should know how to separate these two. Every problem has a solution that comes along with it. I'll tell you, because the paucity of time. Come closer this way. Move back. You move back, Lima.
Okay.
Stretch your arms. Why they found it difficult was, Lima saw the rope goes like this, goes under and comes out. All right? Therefore, she thought, if I can go inside and come out, I can come out. Same, Devasmita also found the same thing. The rope goes like this, goes in and comes out. If I go under this and come out, I can come out. Am I right? Both of them perceived this as the solution there. This area is the solution. This is not a solution.
Wait, as
Yeah.
no.
As I told you, crossing the frame. Okay. Doesn't matter. We'll tell you. I'll tell you. Now, where is the solution now? I told you earlier, please listen to my instructions very carefully, otherwise you will not be able to solve the problem. While tying the hand, I repeated the same instruction 4 times. Can you believe what's the instruction I repeated? While tying the hand, I said I am leaving some space here. Every hand I mentioned that I am leaving some space here. You thought it is a habit of old teachers. Keep on repeating. I was not repeating, I was giving a clue. The solution is not here, solution is there. Please, I'll show you how to do it. Stretch your arms. Now, when you try it yourself, you will not be able to do it, but I'll tell you how to do it. Best thing is go home, tie yourself with somebody else, known person, and then take the rope. See the upper rope. There are 2 ropes here. One is the upper rope and the lower rope. Upper means which is on the above side. For Lima, this is the above rope. For Madhusmita, this is the upper rope. Which direction this rope is going? Which hand? Left hand of Lima. Am I right? Left hand of Lima. What I'll do is I take it like this, put it under the hand, put it over the fingers, and come out. So easy. The solution is not here. Apparent solution was here, or called pseudo solutions are here. Sometimes you feel depressed. Best is smoke. That's absolutely stupid solution. Smoking is not the solution for depression. Getting up and working is the solution. I fail in the examination. Keeping crying is a pseudo solution. Appearing for the next exam with better preparation is a real solution. So unless I know how to sort out between apparent solutions and real solutions, I am always getting stuck. Swami Vivekananda always cautioned us, especially youth of India, don't go on the wrong side to find solutions there. Crying is not a solution, fighting is a solution. And if somebody, I think only this Swami can do, no other Swamiji I have seen doing it. He was a ship and Christian missionaries, priest started abusing Hindu culture. You know what he did? Absolute unlike a Swamiji. He held him by the collar and said, "One word more, I'll throw you in the ocean." And people said, "You're a Swamiji, you can't talk like that." He said, "If somebody curses your mother, what will you do?" You understand what I'm trying to say? He says, you should find different solutions at different times. He was in Kashmir. He was in the temple. He saw the temple dilapidated. And immediately said, "Mother, don't worry, I will build a temple for you." And in a second he realized, the mother who can build the whole universe, can she not build a temple for herself? How wrong I am to say I build a temple for her. You remember, this is called finding the real solution, not pseudo solutions. Sometimes taking emotional decisions, sometimes taking introspective decisions. Decisions have to vary depending on the context. Thank you, ma. Remove this and you can go back to your place. Wear your watch, most important. Take your watch. I'll carry on further. So this is most important to me. The moment he asked a question, it struck a chord in my mind. He's asking the young boys, why are you painting or organizing Kali idol the same way? Can't you not do different? The purist will feel shocked. The purist will say, no, Kali has to be like this only. There's a frame. I told you Swamiji was the only person who could understand the frame and was willing to transcend it. That is the creative part of it. And then next, the most important. Very quickly I'll go through. Oh, my time is up? Okay. I'll not take more time now. Spontaneity is the hallmark of creativity. It should be spontaneous. Don't take 5 hours to answer a question. Especially whether it's humor or religious context or spiritual context, he was very quick. You are sitting in US with a long table, dining table, and a white man was staying on the other side. he wanted to mock at this Swamiji and asked him a question. What is the difference between a man and a monkey? What is the difference between a man and the monkey? And Swami said, that is the distance of the table. That is the distance of the table. This side there is a man and that side is a monkey. How quickly, instant, spontaneous, absolutely spontaneous. Or talking Vedanta and football are the same to young boy. A young boy was tutored by the mother and said, ask Swami, learn about Vedanta. He went and touched the feet and said, Swamiji, explain Vedanta to me. Swami knew that it is not his question, mother's tuition. He said, what do you like most? The boy said, I like football very much. He said, football is Vedanta. And the boy likes it so much, football is Vedanta, go play football. And he explained so beautifully, I don't think Vedanta can be explained more simpler than this. He said, there is a football ground, there are 2 goal posts, 11 people from here and opposite side, and start kicking only one ball. As long as the ball is in the ground, the ball is kicked either by this team or that team. It will be continuously kicked. But the moment the ball goes out of the ground, it is the only time the ball is touched by hand. They keep it on the head and it's called throw-in. Swami uses so beautifully and says, this is Vedanta, Baba. As long as you think you are only body, joys and sorrows will kick you throughout your life. Even joy is a kick. Joys and sorrows will kick you all through your life. The moment you think you are not the body, you are the spark of the infinite glory. You are a Chaitanya. You are not just body. Then the same world which was kicking you will keep you on the head and worship you. What a lovely way of explaining football and Vedanta to a young man who loved football. Is it not right? This is a creative hallmark. And then this is marvelous. As a scientist, I wondered, no argument about it. He was sitting in the house of Haripad Mitra in Belgaum, evening sitting on the terrace and talking to him about space and time. Talking about space and time, and uses the word, this is how time and space are united. Unification of space and time. Long back, 1892. He says, imagine what is time? How do you define time? Your watch is made because of the rotation of the earth around the sun. Your clock is made 24-hour clock. There was a time when sun did not exist. Was there time? No, there was no time there. Time existed even then. There would be a time in future when sun would not exist. Even then time would exist. Therefore time is an infinite. And what is space? You have demarcated the space into India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, China, America and all that. Space is infinite. He says, even if you take a spaceship going at velocity of light, even if you go 75,000 years, you don't come to the end of this world. Space is infinite. And then he uses beautifully, 2 infinites cannot coexist. They have to be one part of the other, or they are 2 names of the same quantity, same quality. Space and time are united. Talking to a Haripad Mitra, a forest officer, on the terrace and talking about space-time unification, at that time, something a genius can do. And he went to Madras Christian College. The boys mocked at the Swami and said, you Swamis, all young people, you do spend time, you talk of Vedanta, which has no proof. Swamiji explains to him so beautifully, the methods of modern science are not different from the methods of Vedanta. What do you do in science? You do experiment. Am I right? You prove by experiment. Many things cannot be proved by experiment. You have not seen the atom still. Without knowing the structure of the atom, you have built the structure of the atom. You have not seen an electron, but you have designed the atomic structure. How do you do it? What you can't see, you infer. The newspaper falls in front of your house every day. It doesn't require a genius to say somebody must be dropping it. You are inferred. He says, first you do the experiment. If you can't verify by the experiment, you infer. And if you still can't find out by inference, you go to the references, go to the journals. Go to the journals of ancient time. This person has done it already. And he says in Vedanta also we have the same thing. Pratyaksha Pramana. If it's not there, we go to Anumana. Anumana is inference. And finally he says, if you don't find, we also go to Shastras. As you go to journals, I got Shastras. The Vedas, Upanishads are is a condensed wisdom, and is also collective wisdom also. That's why Vedas are called Apaurushaya. They're not written by one person. It's a collective wisdom of the people at that time. And that is our Shastra. And he convinces the modern people that Vedanta methods are not different from that. This is the last page I would like to sell. creative person modifies himself continuously. This is more important. He doesn't remain static. He was going to Vrindavan. On the way, he found one person sitting, sitting on the sweeper, sitting on the roadside and smoking chulam, the smoke hookah. He said, "Can you give me hookah?" And immediately looked at the ochre robe and said, "Swami, you are sannyasi, I am a low caste man, you can't take hookah from me." Okay. Swami went further and then realized, I am a sannyasi. If I still believe in the caste feeling, I am wrong. He went back again and said, "Brother, make smoke for me, I'll smoke for you." Not that he wanted smoke, but he wanted to clear himself that as a sannyasi, if I still have the feeling of caste, how can I get rid of it by others? He went back and smoked chula and went back. A creative man changes himself, and this is marvelous, my friends. Sarfraz Hussain, Swamiji's disciple, he was a Muslim. He writes a letter to him. Swamiji's letter. I am firmly persuaded that without the help of a practical Islam, theories of Vedantism, however fine and wonderful they may be, are entirely valueless to the vast mass of mankind. It could shock anybody. And then he says, for our own motherland, a junction of the two great systems, Hinduism and Islam, Vedanta brain and Islam body, is the only hope. Only a revolutionary Swamiji can say that. Nobody else can say it. And what do you mean by this statement? Islam is so committed. Is the youngest religion. Is only 1400-year-old. Hinduism is very old. Vedanta is required here. The commitment of Islam and the thinking of Vedanta, a combination can be a beautiful model. That Swamiji says, only a revolutionary and a creative Swamiji can say that. He was a brilliant orator, brilliant writer, soulful singer, sensitive poet, outstanding motivator, charismatic leader, and then an affectionate spiritual master. All these two in one body. And wonderful communication skills were fabulous. He could communicate with scholars at the scholarly level and with the gullible people in a very simple language that he could use. That is communication genius. And last word, my friends, I want you to think over. Some people die, after some time people forget them. Am I right? When you purchase a new vehicle, you clean it 3 times a day. Actually, it does not require cleaning at that time. It's new only. But we clean more at that time. And first scratch on the body is a scratch on your heart. But after 4 years, 100 scratches are there, you want to sell it off. The joy that you had of purchasing motorbike or car decreases after some time. Or if somebody dies at home, you feel, how can I live without her, without him? But after 10 days, the intensity comes down. After 10 years, so people forget. Right? Days pass, joys and sorrows decrease in intensity. But very few people, very few thoughts, very few books, reverse happens. As the days pass, they become more profound and more richer and more popular. Please believe me, the number of disciples Swami Vivekananda had on 4 July 1902 was infinitely smaller than the number of disciples he has today. Is it not right? How did it happen? The reverse phenomena, I call reverse engineering. People lose interest as the days pass, but here the people gain interest. Why? The only one point is they remain relevant at all times. What he spoke, what he wrote, what he said at that time was relevant at all time. This is the greatest quality of a creative person whom I can't call by any other method other than a creative genius. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now is the time for asking questions. You can stand up and ask questions.
You can take this and use this mic.
So there are 2 types of people, orthodox and unorthodox, or on the other hand, rational or irrational. The irrational are, they are down to earth, they try to stick to their basics. They cling to their heritage and culture, and the unorthodox or rational are the rational always tend to imitate others. The
basic question is about difference between rational and irrational.
sir,
And other one is orthodox and unorthodox.
yeah.
Very simple.
Sir, my suggestion is which one is better to embrace?
Pardon?
Which one, the orthodoxy or unorthodoxy, which one is better to embrace for us to go?
Orthodoxy or unorthodoxy?
The two types of dogmas,
I agree.
orthodoxy and unorthodoxy, which one is better to embrace for us to?
Yes. I tell you, as Vivekananda himself demonstrated, he was an unorthodox man, but taking to orthodoxy. He said, if I had to take one, I'll believe in the old orthodoxy. He mentioned it, orthodoxy, because this man can stand on his feet and fight. The reason is this: he was trying to show as unorthodox, not because he wanted to be unorthodox. A creative mind, I told you, can balance paradoxes together. We can live together. He can meditate for hours together and days together. As Bodhman and Swamiji mentioned, 3 days standing on the rock and meditating is not unorthodoxy. It is the height of orthodoxy. But he could also come out and do anything that he wants. That means telling that, be on the context. I would summarize the whole philosophy of Vivekananda's life as be in the present. Be in the present. Don't try to say, I was like this yesterday, I should also be like this today. No, you don't have to fall into the frame. If this moment requires, in fact, he was a great support to people and women liberator. As Swamiji mentioned, he was a great liberator of women. But when some people went and said, can you contribute money for saving women? He said, stop it. Who told you to do it? He said, don't try to support women. Give them education. They'll relieve themselves. They'll be free themselves. You can call this as unorthodoxy. But unorthodoxy means you can't predict. You can't predict. Not unpredictable. They have to be different at different times. That answer is to be given at that time. They are spontaneous and being at the present. Always being at the present. It could be orthodoxy or unorthodoxy. When he was doing meditation, you should know that when he was talking into the Western world, he never even took the name of Sri Ramakrishna on his lips. He always say, my master. Somebody asked him, why are you not saying master? He says, how can I take the name of my master on my lips? Is height of orthodoxy. Am I right? We touch the feet of the master. But he was not the one who did not criticize his master. When he was not well, he wondered, he says is Rama and Krishna, is it really true? This is the beauty of life, my friends. Please understand. He accepted his master to such a high level, he did not take his name on his lips. But he did not stop in questioning him. Why is master doing it? He never took anything without questioning. Questioning is not unorthodoxy. Is analytical mind, sharp analytical mind, dissecting mind, can dissect anything, accept it if it is right, reject it if it is not right. So we can't brand Vivekananda as orthodox or unorthodox. He is giving a message to you, don't get stuck to anything. If that moment requires you to be orthodox, be orthodox. When you're doing puja at home, yes, do it puja. Respect the elders. But after the puja, sit with the Purohit and ask him what is the purpose of this? What is the meaning of this? Ask this. Don't surrender. You have to be a combination of both. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, you can tell them. You can tell them.
Yes, time till for this.
লাঞ্চ ব্রেক মানে যদি বাইরে কোথাও লাঞ্চ খেতে খেতে জিজ্ঞেস করে নেয় ওরা সেরকম ভাবে অন্য সময় যদি জিজ্ঞেস করে থাকে
He can.
Next speaker, Radharbabu was present here
Time is up. We wish many would have asked question, but we are for short of time. Next speaker, you can ask questions. And we thank Dr. Gururaj Karjagi on behalf of Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture, Gold Park, for being with us for just 24 hours, coming all the way from Bangalore to deliver a talk on Swami Vivekananda as a creative genius and with wonderful demonstrations. and his talk, in fact, was an expression of creativity. So once again, thank him and thank Swami Suparnanji for all the support, and also Veda Swarupanji. Thank you very much.
I'll write my email.
What is his email number? Your email.
Yes, he's writing his email on the blackboard. You can copy it and then ask questions through email.
One of the most difficult tasks is to play the devil's advocate, and here I am playing the devil's advocate because we're running out of time. We have other speakers lined up. When Dr. Karajagi was talking about flexibility and rigidity, I was tempted to wonder something that I was told as a student. Revered Swami Atma Priyanandaji had once told me. Swamiji had this unique quality of adjusting and accommodating his views. He said something to somebody, and just a few days later, he said exactly the opposite. And they said, "But Swami, you said this the other day?" And Swamiji smiled and said, "That was the other day." So this flexibility about changing one's views, this is the height of creative genius. I am sure Dr. Karajagi would allow me to say that. Thank you very much. We would break for lunch, and we are running slightly behind schedule by about 8 minutes. It would be very convenient if we can come back here positively by 1:35, so that we can start dot at 1:35. All the youth delegates may kindly proceed down to the main foyer where lunch will